All right, everybody. I am over the moon excited to introduce today's guest speaker. I've known this woman, actually. I've admired this woman since I started my journey in network marketing. She is her name's Christy Dreiling. She's an amazing network marketing professional. Christy is a mom of 3 awesome boys, who one of your boys is actually in network marketing as well, which I would love for you to share more on how that came about. She has an awesome husband, Scott, who I know my husband has done some crazy mountain biking up some awesome mountains in Maui together. She has 18 years experience in network marketing, you guys. She's been a top leader since her first year in her business. She is top 15 overall within her company, which is incredible. You guys, she has yearly sales between $35 and $40 million a year. So whatever you're doing, stop, grab a pen and listen, because Christy's going to share all of her tips and advice and her story. You guys, she's been recognized for tons of charitable contributions. I know she's a servant leader. She has a huge heart, and I can't wait to talk about that. But she also has a background as a photographer, a model. She's an author. She's doing a movie. What don't you do, Christy? It's amazing. So I'm really excited to share her with you guys today. So welcome, Christy.
Thank you, Shanna. So excited to be here.
Yay. So we keep it real here. So anything goes. But I love to start with, if you can just tell us your story. So how did network marketing find you? What were your thoughts? Why did you say yes? What did that all look like? Let's just start there and see where this goes.
Yeah, no. So I actually we were struggling. We had just purchased a pink Victorian. Yes, it was pink. And it was a house we couldn't afford. And I was always been a visionary, Disney dreamer, of course. And I remember sweeping the front entry one day, and we were just struggling. And I'd been struggling with my skin, and I had this thought, and I thought, God, if you're there, truly, I could use some extra money, and I could use some better skincare. And I looked out and I saw my husband in the garden, and my husband was in corporate America, worked 70, 80 hours a week. He didn't like what he did. And I could feel that he was hungry to live his dreams. But I knew that he wasn't going to get us where we needed to go. That just wasn't in his. Money's never been something he loves. I love it, because I think when you never have it, when you're growing up, you're like,
love it, you want it.
I love it. It's not from I'm not in love with it, but I love what it can do for people. And so actually just a couple of weeks later, I was on a photo shoot, shooting a child, and photographing. I actually said that once in an airport. A mother called me and said, "Hey, will you shoot my 3 kids?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll shoot your 3 kids for $900." Anyway, so I was
oh yeah,
photographing.
Yeah.
So I was on this photo shoot, and I was shooting this kid model, and this woman shows up, and because you get what you ask for, right? It presents itself. And I noticed her skin, because I put my attention on skin, and I said, "What in the world do you use?" And then a few months later, after sending loads of people to her, I was out of money, because I just bought a bunch of photography equipment, and she said, "Why don't you get some people together?" And I'm like, no, I don't like women, and I have no friends. And but I wanted it so bad. I actually told people at the gym they would get ugly if they didn't come to the party. And they bought it. I don't know why they came, but they came. It was got me in the door.
I love that. Write that one down. If you're in skincare, write that down. That's a great one.
I just don't know. That's all right. Somebody might slap you, but luckily they didn't slap me.
I love it. Yeah. And so you had the people over, learned more about the business, and decided, like, hey.
I only wanted free stuff. It was all about me. And I thought, here's what's really bad. I had wine and pizza there. And I thought, if they get drunk, they'll buy the stuff and I'll get my free stuff.
That's amazing.
But no, they were so in love. It was really this time of fellowship and bonding. And I had no idea that I would even consider doing this. Actually, my husband came home and said, "Hey, so how much money did you spend?" I said, "Honey, I made $60 and I got $350 in free product." And he's like, "No, really, how much money did you spend?" And he thought it was a joke. He never thought it would be anything. And I just thought, you know what do I have to lose? Actually, there are a bunch of women that wanted to sign up that night. And I looked to the lady who was my sponsor, and I said, so what's going to happen with all these women? And she goes, well, we can sign them up underneath me, or we can sign them up underneath you. And I sat there just for a moment. And I said to her, I might be slow, but I ain't stupid. Sign them up under me and I'll figure this stuff out.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Say yes and figure it out. Right.
I was like, yeah, I don't know what the heck I just did, but
yeah, but just do it. I find that I work a lot like that too. My husband and I are very different in that sense, where I'm like, yes. And I like go, and then he's more like methodical. He's got to think it through and do all the things. And I'm like, and most of the time it serves me. There's the odd time it doesn't, but most of the time it does. And obviously this served you very well. So you said yes. And then what happened? You figured you just started learning how to do the business and started sharing. And,
I think it's very important to be mission focused.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I was so excited was that we were educating on ingredients, and that became something really important to me. I didn't realize that the pink bottled lotion I was using on my child was inundated with heavy chemicals. And so I was mad. I was angry. You know what? You don't mess with a mama's babies, right?
Yeah. No.
And I found out that there's not a lot of regulation, especially in the United States, when it comes to ingredients. So I just said, I don't care if I make a penny. I have to be a voice. I have to help people. I got to get out there. So my mouth was my office,
Yeah.
And if I could make a few $100s a month, great. I didn't start off thinking, oh, I'm going to have a multi-million-dollar business. Actually, when I heard what one of the top women in the company, what she made, I said to the lady who told me, I said, they are so lying to you.
Yeah.
That much money, schlepping product. Okay, but listen, that's okay. You go about
that's cute and everything, but yeah.
And it was actually just within a couple of years, actually 2.5 to 3 years, I bypassed what I had heard she was making a month.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And do you think that was because you became more mission driven about, spreading a message versus trying to sell a product? Do you know what I mean? Like, you think that's and because a lot of us get caught up when we start this business, a lot of us start this because we need the money. Like, let's just be honest. And so we get driven by making the dollar, but it didn't seem like that so much for you. It seemed more like, yes, you needed the money, but it still wasn't something that you were focused on even when you started the business. Maybe it was because you didn't quite understand it or didn't know, but you just got hooked onto the message.
Well, it didn't take me long after I made a few $100s for our family. Listen, I lived in a small town in Kansas, 5,000 people. I had no girlfriends. I had no money in the bank. I drove an old Ford Windstar minivan that smelled like cat pee. There was nothing sexy about my life, okay? You wouldn't have looked at me and said, oh my gosh, she's going to be a multi-million-dollar international entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What it was, the mission was very much the root of my beginnings. However, I won't get emotional on this. Many times I have, but most importantly, looking at my boys and seeing in their eyes that everything that they witnessed was giving them permission to fail or succeed. And to take life and live it instead of just sitting by and being a spectator of somebody else's dream. And I knew, even though when it was hard, or even though when I doubted my ability, or when I doubted my ability to be a leader, I looked at them and reminded myself that the legacy that I was creating was much bigger than what that paycheck was providing or what that product was doing. So, does that make a sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And you bring up a really good point, because I often think about this with my kids, because it's not always perfect. Like, we're in these businesses and there's ups and downs. And I always think to myself, like, my daughter and my son, like I have 2 sons and a daughter, but even though it may not seem like it sometimes, because right now they're teenagers, so it doesn't seem like they care about anything that I'm doing right now, but I know that they're watching. I know that they see that I'm struggling, but still going. I know that they can see that mom's, working hard every day to like show up. and try and make life better, And so I think that it brings up a really good point, is that to remind ourselves that we're doing this and to prove and show our children that anything's possible in life if you just continue to, show up, kind of thing. So no, I think that's amazing. I love that. And one of the things I want to circle back to, because you talked about this in the beginning, and I think this is an important thing to share too, because a lot of times, you talked about the money, it's like, I love money. And like, why do we put so much shame around that? Like, why can't we just be like, I freaking love money. Like, I love to shop. I love to buy things for my house. I love to spoil my kids. Like, money does my happiness. And I think that there's that, when we get too attached to feeling shame around money, then it doesn't open us up to be successful. Right? Like, would you agree? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, girl. I mean, I'm going to go all weekend on this topic. Listen, I know you know a little bit of my story. I was homeless a little bit growing up. We dug for cans out of trash cans just to get food. I was on a product of the welfare system most of my life. Fathers that were drug addicted and abusive. Many times we didn't have food, and we would have to go to the community caring center and get donations. Many times my three sisters and I would share a Happy Meal from McDonald's and one drink because we just didn't have any money. So when you go through that, I'm telling you that even though we loved each other, there was no happiness in not being able to have enough, right? And honestly, part of my journey, I had to go through some psychological transitions in the beginning of my business when I started doing well, because every time I would make money, I'd give it away. I'd give it away. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable. Okay, I'm not worthy of this. I mean, when's somebody going to show up and say, hey, this is all a joke? Yeah. You're not, worthy of this. We just thought we'd trick you.
Yeah.
And that was a really hard moments. I mean, years working on pushing through that. So to me, if you are not, money is just energy. Yeah. It's all it is. It's energy. You're energy. I'm energy. When you receive money, it's because you provided a service of value. So if you are getting a lot of money, congratulations, you are a contributor of our universe. You are not a taker. You are a contributor. And that's what achieving more and acquiring more wealth is. It's you're focused on contribution
and value. I love that. It's like the law of income is the more people you serve, the more money that comes back. And I absolutely love that. And we need to be okay with that, because I know I suffered my own money problems, and, there's self-sabotaging habits we get into because, like you said, you weren't comfortable with money. And so in this business, because of this business being so amazing, we can make a lot of money very quickly. And there is mindset work, I think, that needs to be done in order to be able to handle the success and the money and the leadership and all of that. So I love that.
Can I say that one of my mentors has always told me, make sure you tie up your camels. Yes. Because there were many times I didn't tie up my camels, and I hurt financially from it. I trusted the wrong people. Even though when you're having fun in this business, make sure you're getting a good accountant. Yes. Make sure you're putting enough taxes away. Yes. Make sure you're doing the write-offs properly. Like, just make sure you're tying up your camels, because otherwise that's where, that uncertainty will arrive, and it could shake you up a little bit. But when, there's people out there that have been there that can mentor you in this area. Don't be shy to ask the person who brought you into your business, what accountant do you use? What process do you use?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm personally somebody who got caught into that because my business grew really quickly and I didn't take the time to put money away. It's like in the beginning, you get those big paychecks and you're like, woo, woo. And you're like spending money and you feel like every month it's like, wow, and it's like, oh yeah, the government needs some of this too. And, like you need to be putting money away. And so, I always say like, you got to treat this like a business, even when you're not making money so that those habits, are in place. So when the big money does come, you're not behind the 8 ball. And,
well, girl, I'll tell you that part of my story was, I called it the Christie Crash.
Yeah.
And I trusted the wrong people with my money, and they told me it would be put away, and secured safely for tax time, which was a lie. And when I went to take it out, they said, you can't take it now. And that resulted in an accumulation of around $250,000 in tax debt that I wound up coming through it, but only after, by the way, only after shaming myself and also feeling a bit depressed during that period of how could I be so dumb or whatever.
All the negative self-talk.
Yeah, the shaming. And listen, that's part of being an entrepreneur. Although I was down, listen, you don't have to make those mistakes to succeed. All you need to do is get in the environment with the right people that can coach you what not to do and be smart enough to take their coaching.
Yeah.
One of my mentors had said to me, oh, Christy, that's nothing. I lost $600 million in the recession. All of a sudden, my problem seemed and I thought, you know what, I can get through this. But because of that, I actually launched another country. And because of that, that insecurity, because of that failure, that business produces over $1 million a month now.
And it's funny because I just did a podcast on Monday called 99 Possibilities. And it's about, in every problem, there's a possibility for something. There's something in that. And it's those who look for it that will find, like you said, you opened another country, a whole new leg of your business, and it brought you something. So that problem forced you to see, find possibilities because you needed to get through the problem. And I think sometimes we get so, caught up in the problem and we spiral downwards because of it. And we're not looking for solutions. And that's where when we ultimately, you say, like, you can totally crash and burn in that. But, if you find the possibility, you're going to be way farther ahead when you come out the other side. And I just want to stop here for a second, you guys. Christy has an awesome book. It's called LOL, and it actually goes through her entire story, right? Christy, it's your entire story right from the beginning, which is
a lot of it. Yep.
Oh, yeah. And where can they get that book?
They can find it on Amazon.
Amazon, yes. So it goes through Christy's entire story and talks about all of these things. So we're giving you guys a preview here, but you definitely make sure you grab that book to learn everything about Christy and that. But yeah, there's no shame and no stories. And the biggest thing I always talk about is that it's the obstacles that give us the lessons, that give us the growth, that allow us to be the better leaders and be able to show up bigger and better in our businesses. And I truly believe that. So who are some of the people that you look to for inspiration in your business? Like who's your it person right now that you're absolutely loving? Is it a book? Is it a person? I know Rachel Hollis is big right now with everybody. Everybody loves Rachel Hollis. She's got some good stuff going on. But is there somebody that you kind of go to as inspiration?
I'm kind of different. I personally, I know a lot of people love Rachel Hollis, and that's great. I like different books like Mind to Matter.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of spiritual type of books. I'm reading. It's really cool, To Shake the Sleeping Self. It's really great by Jediah Jenkins. Okay. Fabulous. Art of Living and Tai Nahan. I can't pronounce it. Never have been able to. Course in Miracles.
Gabrielle Bernstein.
Course in Miracles, actually. Gabby read Course in Miracles and
Marianne Williamson.
And Marianne Williamson is great. That is really my playground. Honestly, because I think the heart of all growth comes from within, and when you can, whatever that spiritual path is for you, I think it teaches most of us how to be more compassionate. And when you're more compassionate with yourself, you're able to express yourself more freely, more openly to the world, and show compassion for others. So to me, it's more about embracing my true authentic self through my spirituality, and then sharing that light. So being a reflection of what I emanate and what I feel deep inside, being that in the world, which I think also registers at a frequency. I'm a huge energy frequency. studied a lot of, of course, a lot of people know The Secret. I love The Secret. I love quantum physics. I love
Yes.
studying, I have my bachelor's in metaphysical sciences.
Oh,
And
awesome.
so, yeah, I just love learning, and,
Mhm.
and I love being a reflection of the light.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I think that there's a lot to be said when you can go inward and really see who you are and let that, be your, because, oftentimes, especially in network marketing, we're always trying to keep up with so-and-so and put ourselves online in a way that is, what we think we should be because we're trying to build these businesses. But I think the secret to all of it is to show up authentically as your unique self, however that looks, whether it be spiritual or however that is, and that you will attract the tribe to you that resonates and is in alignment with that. So I think that's amazing advice, and I love that. I'm actually just listening to a book right now it's totally got me. It's all in alignment with that. It's Dr. Joe Vital, and it's The Abundance Paradigm. Oh my God. It's mind blowing. I love that kind of stuff too. If I could go back to school, I would study that. That's what I would do, Not that I'm ever going back to school, but
they always say school's not out for the profession, never out for the professional. And I've probably read 1,500 books in the course of my 17, 18 years in this industry. Yes. I really do feel like you attract into your business that which you are. And it's so fun to see who I'm attracting these days. Versus who I attracted in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I had those cycles, like I had, in my ego years, I always like to say that drop from the penthouse to the outhouse is a quick one. Well, in the ego years, when I just, saw nothing but extrinsic motivators, you could tell in the women and men I attracted into my business. I attracted the same. There's sometimes more drama in that, and lots of high energy, but a lot of inconsistent spiritual connection.
Yeah.
And so that needed to happen, though. I've seen it happen in other people that I lead and coach. I can usually tell just in a brief conversation where they're at. I can help to guide them to that next level in a way that will serve them.
Yeah.
Instead of, feeling frustrated, like I feel like I'm stuck. And usually when we feel like we're stuck, it's not moving, it's not going, we haven't opened up our mind and our heart to a new path. We've created an expectation and an ideal of what this path should look like, and where the universe is trying to say, listen, your way is not going to be the best way. I'm trying to show you this, but you're so blinded by it. You're not paying attention. And so when you run up against that block, it's because you're on the wrong path. And you need to open yourself up to new teachers, new ways of learning, new ways of growing in order for and you'll get in alignment. You'll know, trust me, when we're, this is what it feels like.
Yeah. When you're awakened, that's what he's talking about in this book, is about your level of being awakened to, being in alignment and seeing your true self and abundance and all of those things. And it's, he says, like, to feel peace is to be in the moment you're in and not looking for it externally. Like, it's always there in front of you. And it's slowing down to feel it and see it and be in that moment. So.
Well, and I will say meditation has changed my life.
Yes.
I've been meditating for 3 years, and I do it twice a day, 20 minutes each time. Without meditation, I don't feel as connected with the universe. And so meditation, if you really feel like you're high strung, you're stressed out, you're in fear mode, never enough mode, I really encourage you. I mean, there's lots of opportunities. If you want to pay for a program, I paid for transcendental meditation, which in my opinion, I felt if it was good enough for Oprah, Tony Robbins, the Beatles, it was good enough for me. Yeah. And so I was like, there's something that all of these people that I really admire that are playing at the A-list level. Yep. I want to know what they do. And so I did pay, I think it was like $900 to learn that. My whole family learned how to do it because it was so It's cheaper for kids to do it. And so they all went through the program, and it helped them in sports. It helped them in everything else that they were doing. But if you can't afford that, you can just go to and download an app. And there's so many apps out there. And one's slipping my mind right now. I always recommend it.
No, there's tons of apps. There's Calm. There's, I know Oprah does like a meditation session every so often. Even YouTube, you can type in meditations on YouTube, and there's like a plethora of meditations. And I think the hardest thing with meditation, I know the thing I struggle with the most is making it a habit, making it a priority. It's like when life gets busy, first thing to go is my meditation, because I've got to go and do this and that and everything else. So any tips on how to, yes?
Okay. So the thing is, it's kind of like with anything. Imagine starting your business and someone just throwing you out there and say, figure it out, right? Yeah. That'd be frustrating. You would likely, you may be one of the 1% that just figured it out, but most of the time we need someone to show us the way. Mm-hmm. And that's why there's master teachers that come before you. Mm. And that's what I love about you doing this podcast so much, sweetie, and how much you're offering of your heart and your service and your love, because people may not have that direction. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that a lot of companies out there don't necessarily give that kind of direction. Mm-hmm. It's a sad thing, but it's real, but there's also equally fabulous companies that do give it. And so when it comes to meditation, you have to know how to get there to that transcended state. Mm. And there is a process. So the process, when you start to practice and you're learning with your master teacher, and you finally get there and you have the experience of what it feels like to feel at one with the universe and feeling like you're safe and everything's beautiful and it's the most magical feeling. Seriously, you feel it, you taste it. It's almost like, if your company has a company car and somebody says, oh my gosh, can you smell the leather, right? Yeah. It's hard to imagine what it would be like driving that beautiful new car in your company if you've never driven one or taken one for a test drive. You want to be able to visualize it, feel it, experience it. So that's what, in my mind, when you have a process to get to that state of transcendence. Yeah. But my teacher once said to me, because I was only doing it once a day when I first started, and a few months later, he's like, Christy, how's it going? I said, it's great, Rob. I said, I'm so proud of myself. I'm doing it once a day. And he's like, kind of not stern with me, but in a way, he's like,
direct.
Yeah, like, Christy, that's great. But here, why don't you do me a favor? I want you to write down 30 things that you want to attract into your life in the next 30 days. Then and make sure they're all within,
reason.
Yeah. And then I want you to meditate twice a day and then get back with me. I did what he said. And at the end of the 30 days, I attracted more than half of everything on the list. Okay. Yeah. That was enough for me.
Yeah.
Proof. I don't make a penny recommending to you. But when you believe in something and it's transformed your life so much, you can't help but scream from the mountaintops that every human being should be born into understanding how to do this.
How to do it. And we'll put a link, if you have a link to direct us to some info on that, I will put it in the show notes.
It's so simple. Yeah, great.
Yes. And we'll make sure that gets in there so that people can look that up. But absolutely. Once you get that taste of something, it's like, okay, that's what makes you want to keep going. And I think until you can get yourself there, I have yet to do that. I need to do that.
Oh, girl. Well, I will say too, even when, things that are static that show up in life, whether it's an imperfection with a relationship or family or whatever, nothing necessarily that you likely don't have any control of it, but it's taught me how to have control over my reaction to what happens. And therefore it just diffuses. It just stops before it even gets to my heart. It's just, it's crazy. It's like, oh, isn't that interesting? And before I would have been like, oh no, you do not.
Yeah. It's like, well, and that's what I teach in some of the mindset stuff that I do, is that you need to take the time to be able to respond versus react, because when you react, it's usually negative and you're usually feeling negative, which is going to breed more negativity. But when you can say something like, well, isn't that interesting? Take the time to choose, slow down and choose a response, because we always get to choose. Like we are always in control of what our thoughts are. We always get to choose. So take the time to slow down and choose a positive thought, even if it's not something you wanted, you can still choose to feel okay about it. You know what I mean? You don't have to feel negative. So I love that. That's definitely something I am going to work on is getting to that place. I need to get to that place. Okay. So I want to talk to you about couple more things if we still have some time here, but I know that you have a huge servant heart, and I know you do a lot of charitable work within your company, and I know you do stuff outside of that as well. And I would love to just talk a little bit about why you do that, and how important it is for us to do that kind of stuff in our lives. Like, what has, like, just anything that comes up for you when you think about some of the charitable things that you've done, and why that's so important to find a space in your life to be able to give back in that way, or in any way.
Yeah. Gosh, it's such an interesting question. I love your questions. I feel like I've been living that lifestyle for so long. I feel like it's just a part of who I am. Like, every day, what can I give, even if it means there's nothing that will come back to me. And it might be as simple as, a smile or a hug or a compliment or a high five, to, working in Guatemala or South Africa or battered shelters, or working with the homeless. I just follow my tugs, and our tugs will tell us when you feel moved and you feel in need. Like, there's a lot of people out there that I have also witnessed that take advantage of people that have soft hearts and good intentions. And so, like, I don't do what I do because I get my identity from it. I actually really feel rewarded when I can do something that makes an impact. And it's the most authentic form, I think, of it being really a humanitarian, which we all should be more of. It used to be that we all were farmers, and we had our own gardens, and we would help the neighbor out, and we would watch out for each other. And you don't see a lot of that anymore. So I think it's not a new idea. It's just getting back to who we are in our essence of looking out for one another. And listen, my art, my book writing, and my videos that I do, to me, that's also a form of giving.
Yes.
And I feel very fulfilled with that, for that. And there were times when I had leaders, who I adore and love and treasure and cherish, that would start, incredible foundations or outreaches in other countries. And part of me, I was always very supportive, but I was like, oh gosh, where's my heart? Like, what am I supposed to start?
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah, and it's like it's almost like I was feeling less than for not starting a foundation. I even started a global book project that gave books back, to third world countries and children, and like, it just wasn't. All I know is that we all have a different way of contribution, and mine, I feel, is through my books. It's through my making films. It's through my day-to-day interaction. It's from doing things that people don't know I do, and I do it because that's what my heart says to do. And I will say, though, that my next project, I feel like I've been brought, it's lit a fire in me, and I'm so excited, and I feel like it's another way of contributing to the world. And so that'll be another fun adventure.
Is that your next book that you're talking about? Do you want to share a little bit about what that's going to be? Because I think it's important, because this is an industry that's made up of 77% female, I think it is, or it's in the 70s. So, and I think it's an important topic, because we are often females working with females, and sometimes that can get, not always in the space where we're always lifting each other up, and I think it's important to have the conversation to say, we need to be aware of female relationships and how important they are, and how we need to be working together. And so I'll let you, do you want to share a little bit about, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I just actually moved from Kansas. I was there for about 20 years and, well, longer than that, but raised our kids there. And we decided to pick up and just move because we're new grandparents, and our grandbaby was going to be on the West Coast. And then our middle son was going to go to school in San Francisco. And so we were like, okay, we're moving. Let's go to the West Coast, baby. Nothing's tying us down. That's the beauty of network marketing.
Yes.
And what I realized was that for really a decade, I had been pulling myself away from really creating deep and meaningful, relationships with women. And I have obviously thousands of women in my organization that I all help to achieve a lot of success, but I had a few relationships in the last decade that were really painful, where I just completely opened up my heart, and it was crushing things happened. And one of my dear friends died in a tragic accident, and it was one of the most just surreal experiences that any woman, I think, could face. I had literally taken her and her husband, I had unfriended them on Facebook, and we had a falling out, and we're moving in different directions. And I had unfriended them both, thinking, well, we'll heal this, but right now I just can't see them every day on Facebook. And about 6 or 7 months later, a weekend that we were supposed to be together, she was with another group of people and died in a boating accident. And I'll never forget being at the hospital, holding her baby in my arms, and her mom, and her begging her mom not to leave. And there was a lot of shaming that went on in that process. Because this was a woman who really, truly loved me. And one day she looked at me and she grabbed my shoulders and she said, "Christy, you will never push me away from you. I love you so much." I had always had a tendency to push women away. When I would fear that they might hurt me, or, I would just push them away. And I knew that there was a possibility that I would do that with her. And she knew that, but she loved me, and she showed me love, and she showed me grace. And so through that really crazy experience, it woke my heart up. And I began to try to dive into understanding why I kept pushing women away, and how could I bring them closer, and how could I understand them. And it led me to uncover that this is what women have done in our society as a culture. If it doesn't go our way, a lot of times, women gossip behind each other's back, or they might see another woman's success and they'll shame it or feel bad about themselves because they think they're not living up to that standard or expectation that they've placed on themselves. And I see it in young girls. Young girls that are just so infatuated with their extrinsic image instead of their soul. And we see it's epidemic. I mean, so many suicide rates they're climbing because of a lot of the insecurities, that have come from social media. And even though there's good stuff, there's also quite a bit of negative. So my book is called Gather, with her being emphasized, and the intention is girls who gather change the world. And there is it's a special place where women can go to grow, and they can be who they are authentically, regardless of their faith, regardless of their background, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their struggle, their pain, their success, their failure. It's a place where we can support one another and learn how to communicate in a way that brings out the best in us rather than bringing out the darkest of us. And so I'm really, honestly, I feel like this is my next mission in life, and it is mission possible because I believe in females. And I know that just by talking to women now, and talking about this, they start crying, and they're like, so much needed. So that's a little bit about what's going on. Yeah. So.
Well, I'm excited to read it. And I can relate to a lot of that stuff, as I'm sure a lot of the listeners can too. You know, it's women, I don't know why, but it's like, I have female friendships, but I find it so hard to like, let the exterior kind of fall back, you know? And it's like, you know, it's, I don't know if it's fear of judgment, cause women I tend to be more critical with each other, you know, than guys. And yeah, so there's a lot of that in there. And especially in an industry where we work with mainly women, you know, we need to kind of sort through some of this stuff. And so I think it's going to be a much needed book, and I can't wait to see it launch and all the good stuff. And as soon as it's ready, we'll definitely make sure our community knows about it and gets to be able to get their hands on it. I love that. And so that's your next mission. So that's keeping you busy then, writing that? Yeah.
I put a deadline on it of November 1st, so I can give it as gifts for the holidays. So
Nice.
I'm going to be in LA next week by the beach. So I think the ocean is calling all the negative ions to help me finish this book. I'm just allowing, you know, Marianne Williamson once told me, we were at a conference, and she said, you know what, sweetie, we have to remind ourselves that we are the faucet, not the water. And that was just took my breath away. And I'll never forget that. And actually, I was at that conference with my friend who had passed. And I'll never forget what she said there. And I think that we all have something very important to share. And we may not be ready for it now. Like, I felt this stirring inside of my soul that it was time to write again. And it wasn't until I moved where I felt creatively and energetically supported in the new community that I'm in as well. And started meeting with women now. I can't wait. It's funny because, you know, I was at a retreat maybe it was about 3 or 4 years ago. And all the women were downstairs, and they were selfies and taking, you know, fun. And I'm like, God, that looks like so much fun. But I was upstairs with the scientist. I was upstairs with all the guys, you know, because like my safety net was not with women. And it wasn't because they did anything to me. It was just because I did not feel comfortable embracing my divine feminine. I really carried the role of being very masculine, being a mom of 3 boys, being the you know, I retired my husband 16 years ago. So being the boss babe, I just kept my, you know, I just kept my masculinity a little bit stronger than my femininity. So it's okay for us to embrace both. And I hope that the message in my book and the gatherings we create around the world really honors that divine feminine and that divine masculine in each of us, whether you be a man or a female. But this is for females. So sorry, guys, if you're
listening.
Yeah, you know, maybe one of my sons will start the
male version. Because I think males also need to embrace more of their femininity, like their female, like, or what's the word? Their softer side, I'm going to say, and allow themselves to, you know, not have to always be so strong, and allow themselves to, you know, be emotional and soft. And I'm fortunate enough, my husband I think he has a very, good soft side. He's not afraid to let it out, you know, kind of thing. But a lot of men are. And I think it's unfortunate, you know, like the whole men don't cry thing. Well, it's okay to cry, you know, and that's what we teach my youngest. And whenever he's upset, I'm like, it's okay. You know, you can be emotional, and that's allowed and okay, you know, kind of thing. So,
well, you know, Lewis Howe, I think he wrote a book called The Mask of Masculinity, which is fabulous. And I bought that for my sons. They didn't read it, you know, but I think that's a great start. If you feel like you're a guy listening right now and you feel like that's a challenge that you face, pick up his book. It's really great.
Yes, I've heard. I haven't read that one yet, but I've heard it's amazing. I love this. So many amazing pieces of info and tips and just inspiration from our chat together, Christy. This has been amazing. You know, one last thing just before we wrap up, if that's okay. I often ask if there were, you know, for the listeners that are here, they're in their business. Sometimes they're struggling, or sometimes they're, faced with different obstacles. And, and I know obviously in the amount of years you've been in this profession, you've probably dealt with multiple different obstacles and ups and downs and twists and turns. What would be one or two, top pieces of advice if you had to, give that to those who are listening right now that may be in a position like that?
Yeah. So number one, I don't want this to end. I love spending time.
We can keep going. I mean,
I know we both have appointments, but I do. I will just say that, I'm a fan of Malcolm Gladwell, and I love when he speaks about the 10,000 hour rule, although some people think they've debunked it. I don't agree with that. I feel like, nobody is really an overnight success. And, that's overrated. And honestly, there is a very few that ever do create that kind of success. But most of the people that you're going to meet in any profession are people that you haven't seen their low light reels. You didn't see me on my knees crying because I wasn't sure what the next step was to take. You didn't see me shaming myself. You didn't see me competing within myself and also judging myself against others who were further along than myself. You didn't see when, I was getting letters from the IRS and, knocking on my door, calling me all the time. You didn't see, that my family didn't support what I did and they were buying everybody else's products and not mine. You didn't see most of my team quit and have to rebuild that again. So when you hear about, and I could go on, but we'll just, I know we have time. We don't have a lot of time, but when you see that I have a $30 to $40 million business, that's the highlight reel. And what I have to encourage you to do is don't be afraid of the pain. Don't be afraid of the obstacles, the rejection, the fear. There's aspects of becoming a leader. In order to become a great leader, you have to learn how to let go and trust. You have to learn how to be a believer in yourself and have faith in yourself and trust that the process is in place for you to achieve a level of greatness that acquires, that gives you a testimony, because there's no test. If you don't have your test, I don't know whoever came up with that saying, but
I don't know, but it's good.
It's great. It's like if you don't have the test, you have no testimony. But next time you're comparing yourself to somebody else's highlight reel, I really want you to understand you don't know what's going on at home too, because they may have a rockin' ass business, but at home they have a rockin' low relationship with their kids and with their partner, and they may have, it may look great. I see a lot of influencers out there, a lot of these millennials who are like, they look perfect and they have no money in their bank account. I know joining my business. I'm like, why would you do that? Good, but have a business with it. And so my point in saying all of this is you've got to stop thinking that this is going to be a McDonald's drive-through experience. You can't go through the drive-through and say, hey, can I supersize my life right now? It's not going to happen. You've got to pay your dues just like everybody else. But what I will say is at the end of your life, you're not going to have rockin' chair regrets. And a rockin' chair regret is when you're looking back at your life and saying, you know what, I really wish I would have. I wish I would have loved more. I wish I would have been nicer to myself. I wish I would have given more. I wish I would have paid attention to my husband more, or my kids more, or I wish I would have paid attention to this more, or whatever. I love, a great book that I did just finish is Grant Cardone's Be Obsessed or Be Average. Fantastic book. There's a lot of things I don't align with him, but take what you want. It's a buffet of awesome, and take what you want to eat and leave the rest. But what I love about that is he talks about being obsessed with every area of your life that's important to you. So we've been conditioned to believe that being obsessed in just one area is what's going to get you to your dream life. Well, you can be obsessed with your work all you want, but then you're going to lose the relationships and everything else that's most important. So be obsessed with it all. Be obsessed with it goal. And
that's really good.
That's where I would end, I guess.
Well, and that's an amazing ending. There's a lot of awesome quotes and things we can pull from that. And I want to say too, you know, like the obstacles and all the things, those things are happening because they're helping to grow you. Like I've said that before, but I also think like you know, those who are in network marketing, you were given the idea and the thought and you signed in because you were able to do this. Like you've been given this because you're the one who's able to make it successful and make it what it is that you want. So don't discount that, you know, and know that, like, hearing from Christy, all of the things that have happened in her business so many times where you could have just said, you know what, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And you kept going, you know, like, and I mean, I've only been in it 8 years, and I know like some of the times that I've had those thoughts, and it's like, no, you know, like I know that there's so much more to this, you know, this story isn't over yet, and it's not over for you yet either.
Can I just, I know I have to, it makes me think about, you know, I made it to the top of the company in my first year in the business, but the reason why was because I was practicing since I was a little girl, not even knowing it. So one of my dreams was to be in a beauty pageant. So my mom and I took an old Folgers can that had coffee in it. We dumped it in the trash, and she wrote on the front of it, "The future Miss Junior Kansas America, Christy Dreiling." Every day after school, we went to every door in my little town and we asked for donations, and we had people slamming the door in our face, gave us, you know, a quarter, $20 if we were lucky, like every single day after school for 30 days. And that taught me, in that priceless moment, I never knew that that would affect my adult years, but it taught me that, and also modeling taught me, rejection is not the end. It's only the beginning. Because if you know, and when people would say, Christy, you're just too small, you're too short, you could never be a model. Great, we love your look, but no, you're too short. I'd say, you know what? I'm not buying that. Then I'm going to be the first person who's going to land a cover of a magazine. So I just made that adversity and that pain, I made it my fire. Use that adversity, that struggle, that pain. So when I did start network marketing, when someone told me no, in my head, I'm thinking, you're just crazy. Okay. I don't want crazy people on my team. If you can't see how freaking awesome this is, bye.
Yeah. Moving on.
Bye.
And that's true. Like a lot of the things that we experienced in our past, you know, play a role in the way we do our business today, you know, and some of them serve us, like that obviously served you well, you know, learning how to deal with rejection and all that stuff. And I always, you know, when people say no, you know, it's the hard part is to not take it personally. They're not saying no to you. They're just saying no to whatever it is, like, you're asking them of, you know, whether to buy something or whatever. So to stop taking it so personally too. So this was amazing. Thank you so much. I've so enjoyed our chat today, and I am going to go through and we'll make sure all the links to all the places and spaces we talked about will be in the show notes. So you guys can check that out at ShannonRecker.com. But I am just overly thrilled to just have this time with you. So thank you so much, Christy. And is there a space like where people can find you? What's your Instagram handle?
My Instagram is Christy Dreiling Beauty.
Okay. And we'll put that up there too.
Yeah. And Gather will be launching. It's not launching yet. We're finishing up with the artwork right now. So I didn't want to launch it without the artwork. Yeah. And that podcast will be launching. I'm not sure. I'm not going to give you a date on that one. But the book will be out by the end of the year. So I guess just follow. You'll see it on Instagram.
And I'll share it too when it's all said and done. We'll make sure we share it to our tribe too. And also go check out her book LOL, because that gives you Christy's full story, and it's amazing. So this has been amazing, Christy. I appreciate your time so much. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom with our community, and hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Oh, forever. You're amazing. I love you so much. Thank you for your contribution to all these incredible people around the world. And you are such a courageous sister. I love you for that.
Thank you. Okay, guys.